welcome to the Intuitively Wild podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Levine. Living intuitively wild is about coming back home to ourselves. Here, we talk about how to live connected to ourselves, others, and nature, and make a commitment to radical authenticity, vulnerability, and acceptance. On this podcast, we delve into a wide range of topics that span the human experience. We peel back the layers and talk about the things that are often not talked about. This is a space for us all to walk and wander this path of life together. Let's dig into our roots and go deep. Allison, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to finally officially meet you and to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Okay, first question. What is something you wish people knew about you that you don't think many do?
Ooh, this is so tough. I think what comes to mind first is that I am like a very bubbly, happy person. And I feel like sometimes that can get me in trouble with like professional settings, but I think it actually makes me like better at what I do because I work in marketing and that is such an intimidating field for a lot of people, especially small business owners who are like, oh gosh, like I just have so much on my plate. I don't even want to think about that. And it feels so scary to like talk to someone who works at a marketing agency or like a freelancer or anyone in that world. But I do feel like my personality hopefully helps them feel a little bit more comfortable with that.
Mm, I love that answer because this is something I think about a lot in terms of being a business owner and being a woman and feeling like I need to show up in a certain way to be professional and to be taken seriously. And I've really tried to let go of that and just be like, I know that I'm showing up in a way that I'm proud of. And there is, I think, the way that business has been structured in the past is falling apart. And we want more people who are just showing up honest and authentic. And I totally agree, especially in the realm you're in. It's so, and for me too, like people want to feel comfortable and safe and want to be around people who are just themselves and friendly. And so I love that. And I'm curious if you've come across any of that through your work.
Yeah, 100%. I actually started like in the agency world, and I think it was just like such a, I'm not even sure what the right word is. Like it was such like a thing that held like a lack of confidence for me because I felt like everyone else showed up so professionally and always knew what to say and like could just articulate themselves so well without like giggling or smiling. And it was like so difficult for me to do that. But now like what you said, like I feel like I've really come into myself and I mainly work with a lot of women and I see that that's what they like also. Um, so yeah, I've 100% felt the same way.
I do feel like it's a process, especially when you're first starting out. You are, I mean, I had the experience where I was a beginner and I did want to be liked and felt like I had to show up in a certain way to, kind of like get people to want to work with me. And as I grew my confidence and grew comfortable in what I had to offer, I was like, I know that I'm good at what I do. And so I don't need to try to contort and like convince people the right people will be attracted to me.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not someone who is like naturally like a salesy person.
Mm.
So it's actually been like very comforting to me that like, okay, I can use my personality to connect with people in that way and it can work for me for sure.
Okay, I'm curious about that then because I also am not a naturally salesy person. I hate the marketing side of business. I've struggled with that. And so I'm curious what got you into this business in the first place.
Yeah, so actually my almost everyone in my immediate family is an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And like I said, I started in the agency world and I went to school for this. And I actually started in the world of like PR, which is actually very like structured. There's like a structure to everything you do and it has to look a certain way. And there's really no room for like creativity, at least in the way I was in PR. So I came across marketing and I just knew it was something I wanted to do. But when I had started in the agency world, we worked with a lot of companies I didn't really feel like value-wise connected to. So then when I went out on my own, I knew, okay, I want to do things differently. I want to mainly work with women. And I do want to work with brands or businesses who values are something that are important to them.
Yeah, I do think that the values piece is so important. And it comes again, you like start off in a certain way with work, and I feel that we all have to start there and have the lessons that we have in the beginning to understand our values and to understand and to build that confidence and then to have the ability to go out on our own in a way that feels safe and like comfortable for us because I think sometimes if we try to go out on our own without having those lessons built, it makes it more challenging sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. I think if I hadn't started in like, I guess, a more corporate setting, I definitely would not have learned those lessons, or I would have learned them in a much more difficult way being on your own. Because, like it's just me over here. So everything falls on my shoulders. So if something goes wrong, like it's my mess to fix. And that's a little bit different than like the corporate world for sure.
Yeah, well, I totally understand that
Yeah.
aspect of it. So, what made you, was there a turning point where you were like, okay, it's time for me to go off on my own, do my own thing?
Yeah. So I had interned or worked for about three different agencies, and I definitely learned a lot while I was there. But like each one felt very like disconnected for me. There was either brands or businesses I didn't feel very passionate about working with. One of them was like realtors and like CPG brands, and I was like, oh, that's just not where my passion lies. And like when you're coming up with content or like writing, it can be really difficult to feel creative when you're like doing something for a business or a brand that you're not very passionate about. But I would say the turning point for me was I was at an agency and I didn't feel like my values lined up with the agency itself. And you would get this like pit in my stomach every time I logged on for the day. And I think like we all kind of know like when you start to get that feeling, it's like it's time to hit the road, like it's time to go. So I was actually on vacation with my partner and his family in South Carolina last year when I just like broke down crying in front of his mom, which is like kind of embarrassing because like who wants to cry in front of their in-laws? Probably no one. But I just like knew, okay, it's time to go and I don't want to be at another agency. Like I at that point had already been working freelance with a few different people and I knew like, okay, now is the time to do it. I don't have kids. I don't have I'm surrounded by family. If there's ever a time, it's right now. So that's what I did.
I love that. And first off, being kind of on the other side of working with people I, who finding people to support me with my business and having learned many different lessons working with many different people, I've realized how important it is for me to work with people who want to work with me and who really believe in my business and care about it and care about me as a person, especially because my business is so personal. And so I think that people such as you, like marketers, do the business a disservice if they aren't passionate about the businesses they're working with. I think it takes it to a whole another level when you're able to work with people who you truly care about and get excited about working with. And I have been on the receiving end of that. And it now, whenever I'm working with someone, I'm like, do you really want to work with me? Are you excited about it? How are you feeling? Like, and I have these check-in moments as we're working together of like, are you feeling good about this? Like, are you feeling excited about the work? Because that is shown and it has a ripple effect through everything that you do.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like working with people now, like I want them to know I'm just as invested in their business as they are. And I think when you're a small business owner, like for a lot of people, that business is like their child, like their baby. They would do anything for it. So when you're working with someone, you want them to feel the same way. And it can be really hard to find people who feel the same way about your business as you. But I actually just worked with someone for branding and I felt the exact same way. Like I could tell she was excited, so that made me even more excited. And it just feels so good when you can work with people who feel aligned like that for sure.
It does feel so good. Now having that certainty around how I want to structure my business relationships, it makes such a difference and it makes the work so much more fun when you can connect with these people and everyone's so excited and like really invested and cares. It just makes the world of difference. And then also I wanted to touch on what you were saying about having that breakdown moment because yes, it can be uncomfortable to have those moments in front of people who maybe it's not like the ideal person to do it around, but I think they happen when they're meant to. And, I don't know your relationship with your mother-in-law or how that unfolded and what, support you got through that. But I find they happen in the exact way and moment they're meant to. And we get the message and the lesson that we need to then to like take the next step. And those breakdown moments are such crucial parts of our evolution. And so I'm curious if through that one or any other breakdown, rock bottom moment, not that that was a rock bottom, but any other low moment in your life, you have a lesson that you feel has really supported you moving forward.
Oh, that's so interesting. Really, the only one that comes to mind is that just because I was also working, it was just me and the owner of the company, and I felt like there were a lot of moments where there were like little digs at me. So my confidence was probably at an all-time low working at that job. And actually, like when I was in that situation, everyone in my partner's family was like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like, why are you not just leaving? Like, I don't understand why you feel so attached to doing this. Like, why are you making yourself continue to do this?" But I mean, really, when your confidence is that low, like you have just told yourself, like, that's it. Like, there's nothing else I can do. No one will hire me. Like, who would pay to work with me? And it's actually funny because literally the end of this week, we're going back to that same exact place with the same exact people. And it's just like a really like comforting full circle moment for me because now I'm in a completely different place. And yeah, I would say that was probably just like like a rock bottom career-wise for me. And I'm just thankful and happy that I get to work with the people I do and that I've come like very full circle and I'm excited for what's to come career-wise.
Mm. And what season of life do you feel like you're in right now? Like, what would you say has been this chapter transition for you from that point to now?
I would say actually going back to hiring someone for branding, like for me, that felt like, okay, like this is like a season to expand almost, like to have trust in myself and in my abilities that I can do more than I'm telling myself I can do, in the sense that like it's time to not hold back. Like I think maybe all of us deal with like a little bit of imposter syndrome sometimes, and like for me, this season has been about like kicking that to the curb and like getting serious with myself and knowing that like I can be there when someone gives me a challenge and I can execute it without feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Like who even told me I could do this? Um, so yeah, for me, it's felt like getting that branding done has been the start of that type of season of really like believing in myself and trusting that I can do what I say I can do.
Mm, yeah, I love that. And how do you feel like you've built this trust with yourself? Because that's been something that I've been talking about a lot with people is how we build that relationship with ourselves.
Yeah, I think actually like in a totally not career focused way, I somewhat recently went through like a significant weight loss experience and I really got serious with myself and committed to getting an unlimited Pilates membership. And I was like, okay, girl, like you gotta lock it in, let's do this. So seeing like that payoff for myself and like reaching goals that aren't career oriented, I feel like has given me this new confidence of like, okay, I can show up for myself and I can do this even when it's hard. And like there are harder things in life, and I know that I can do what I say I can do when a client asks me to do something difficult because I've done it in Pilates class 100 times. Like I've done it on really hot days when I go for get my 10K steps. Like, you know what I'm saying? So just showing up for myself in ways that aren't career focused, I feel like has given me such a new perspective and a new outlook on my confidence.
Yeah, I do find it's in those little moments, it's making these promises to ourselves and then showing up for them and like really staying committed to ourselves. And I also feel like it's keeping our word, whether that's to ourselves, to others, like really knowing that we're someone we can rely on and that again ripples out into every other aspect of our lives. And this is another topic that I think about a lot and talk about a lot with other people is this delineation between personal and professional. And maybe for some people there really is like a line and they have those boundaries or those different spaces in their lives, but especially for entrepreneurs and I really think with most people it's all personal and it all meshes together, it all blends together. Always thinking about work. My work is my life, not in an unhealthy, obsessive way, although like sometimes maybe, but more so in the way of like what I learn about, I bring into my work. And I'm always thinking about, you know, how to be a better person and like how to be more confident and how to expand myself. And that comes into my work. And so I'm curious your thoughts on this and how your professional and personal lives might kind of bleed together in different ways.
Yeah. First of all, I'm so jealous of people who have like very strict boundaries like that because I'm personally still working on that. But yeah, I totally agree. I do feel like there is like a lot of overlap, especially when you're like a solopreneur, because it's like it's just me over here. Um, and I think there is like such a beauty in that though too, because like the values I have personally show up in my business, and I know that can be difficult for some people when you're not an entrepreneur or when you're, you know, like very removed from your company's values. But I am like thankful for that. I do feel like personally, I feel like I have pretty high standards of integrity, and I hope every day that that shows up for my clients. And I think especially I'm thankful for that because in marketing, especially, it can be like a little bit of a tough battle there because, you know, sometimes the world of marketing can be a little suspicious. So I would actually say I'm very thankful that there's a lot of overlap between like my professional life and my personal life.
Mm. And what would you say are the values that you kind of return to over and over again?
Yeah, definitely integrity. I want that to show up every single day. And also like kindness. I think sometimes when you're working with other people, we can forget that like that is a person on the other end and they are going through something too and they have, you know, struggles too. And if they don't answer your email right away, like it's not a direct attack on you. It's probably that just like they had to go pick up their kid from school or something like that. So I always try to remember that and like bring that kindness into my business because I've seen in previous experiences where that kindness was like left out and it felt a little bit cold the way we were like interacting with clients, and I never want any of my clients to feel like that.
The, this email piece, I am someone who feels like I need to respond to things right away. And mainly because my anxiety, it will just like always be on my mind until I do it. And so I have to consciously be like, Rachel, you don't need to respond to this email right away. Like you're not going to, like, I'm not going to let you. And to remind myself that also it's not natural for us to be on call for every single person 24/7. And that is one way that I try to have boundaries with my work, although it's very challenging and I don't do it well. But Yeah, I think I'm curious your relationship with this, especially because you do work in the marketing world, like you do work in this social media world. So how do you establish boundaries for yourself if you do when it comes to social media and marketing?
Yeah, I'm 100,000% still working on this because I'm the exact same way. Like my boyfriend all the time will be like, "You don't have to respond to that email right now," and I'm like, "I know, but like I'm here, like I might as well." But I think the biggest way I try to have boundaries for myself in that way is like scheduling things out.
Mhm.
Like I'll respond to the email right away, but I'll schedule it for like 8 a.m. the next day. So
Mhm.
like someone doesn't come to expect that they will get a response right away. And even in like client work, I find that works really well. There was a time when I was like manually posting for every single client every day, and I would like be on a hike with my boyfriend and I'd be like, "Oh, hold on, like I have to post this really quick for this client." And then I was like, "Okay, like I cannot keep doing this." And so now I schedule out posts, I schedule out emails for emails sometimes like like a few months in advance for email marketing, not like client emails. But so I found that has been a really helpful boundary for me. And I actually feel like I have found that people respect me a little bit more when I have those boundaries. And as like a honestly a people pleaser, I did not expect that. I thought people would have more respect for me if I responded to things right away and like, did it right then. But actually having those boundaries has for sure made people respect not only me, but what I do a little bit more because I think sometimes marketing, like people like to not take marketing people seriously, especially because a majority of us are women, younger. So I think, yeah, having those boundaries has just like opened a whole new world for me.
I'm the same exact way. The schedule button on email and text is my best friend. And I've
Yeah.
been I've been actually the like chief PR person for scheduling text because apparently a lot of people don't know that you can schedule your text and you can and it's a lifesaver.
hmm
Highly recommend that. So I'm the same. How have you navigated when being a people pleaser in this world? And what have been some lessons and challenges that you've moved through with that?
Gosh, I'm so working on this still. I think like one of the biggest lessons or like challenges I've worked through with this was letting my very first client go. It felt like very scary for me because she was also like a family friend, but I had started her at a very low budget that I just couldn't sustain working with other people. And I really took a look at my business and myself and really felt, okay, the amount of work I'm putting in for this person, it isn't fair to my other clients who are, paying have a different budget or aren't getting like the same outcome. So after a little more than a year of working together, I finally told the people pleaser in me to like go away and was like, okay, now is the time. And it was super, there was no bad blood or anything like that. It just I just was like, hey, like the way my business is moving, I can't renew our contract. Like, here's some people I trust that I can send you to. And it was all good. And I think for me, like seeing the outcome of that felt very like, okay, the world will not end if I make a decision and like hold true to the decision that I make and maybe set a boundary or two. So I think that challenge felt like a little bit of a turning point for me in the world of people pleasing.
Yeah, I often find that it's so much better received than we think it's going to be. And when it's not, it says everything about the other person and I don't want them in my life anyway, you
hmm
know? And I'm curious the ways in which people pleasing has not harmed you, but shown up in your life of like, oh, I really need to work on this.
Yeah, I think in business, it's shown up really often in like underpricing myself because like I just want to do everything I can for this person. Like I said, like I am so like I feel like their business is my baby too when they sign on. So really it's shown up in that way. And that's been a hard lesson for me, and a lesson I've for sure had to get help with because I am not a math girl, first of all, but it also doesn't help that I want to give everything away for free. So I think for sure in that way. In like non-career ways, I can't really think of too many experiences other than just like, like the normal like friendships or things like that. But for sure in like the underpricing way, for sure.
Mm, yeah, money is such an interesting topic, and I'm trying, I feel like sex and money are two topics that people find so taboo, and I feel like we need to talk about both of them more
Yes.
because money shouldn't be such a sticky topic,
hmm
especially when we're working in integrity and about something that we care about and are passionate about. Like, we should be confident in saying this is how much it's worth. And
hmm
I need to be compensated, and this is something I'm working on within myself. But I I think that the more we do build that trust and confidence in ourselves, the more that we can show up and just say, this is what it is and be very like matter of fact about it. And yeah, I'd love to know if this has felt easier for you as you've built that trust and confidence.
Yeah, definitely easier. I also will say, like, I work in a co-working space, so I'm surrounded by a lot of people who have like very similar frustrations or struggles or like wins as me, because a lot of them are solopreneurs. And my partner is actually he owns a video production company, and it's been honestly like confidence boosting for me to see the way he interacts with his clients because he is very like I don't even like give an explanation of what I'm giving you on the invoice. Like I just give you the number and it's your choice if you want to take it or leave it. And I've been like, oh my gosh. Meanwhile, I'm over here like explaining everything that could possibly come up, trying to like prove that I'm worthy of being paid this amount. Um, so I think like not only has the confidence within myself through like outside factors really helped that, but also just like seeing the way other people do it and getting help from other solopreneurs who are like farther along in their journey than I am has definitely helped.
Yeah, it is really helpful to have people around us who we can learn off of and who can expand us in that way. And I do think that that is one way that we need to step into that kind of like masculine energy more of just being like, this is just what it is and not needing to over explain. And I don't even think that that's to use these energetics like a feminine energy thing. I think that's something that's just been placed on women from society. And in fact, it's actually very feminine to be in receiving mode and to like let ourselves have that reciprocity in our business interactions and relationships in general. So I don't know, just like shifting my mindset around it as well has been really helpful in that way.
Yeah, definitely. It's so interesting to see the way like we like my partner and I interact differently in business for sure. And he's like 10 years in, so he definitely has like a different confidence than me, but it is like comforting to see, okay, he does that and people will still pay. Like it's not the end of the world when you send an invoice and there's no explanation or there's no like explaining everything away. It's just like so comforting to see that, but I'm also sometimes like jealous that he can like move through the business world like that.
Mm. And was he always like that, or did that come to him through time?
I think he's really always been like that. We've been together for 5 years, so I've definitely like seen him interact with his business a lot, but he just definitely naturally is like a very assertive personality, and I am, even though I'm pretty bubbly and like giggly, I'm very introverted. So it's like not only have I had to like force myself to interact with clients and like interact with people who might potentially be clients, but um also like finding that confidence within myself in other ways. But yeah, it's just been interesting to see like the way he does things business wise, but he's for sure been very naturally assertive.
Hmm. And what is the hardest part of either owning your own business or being in marketing or just in your work arena right now? Like what feels really hard for you right now?
I think the hardest part for me right now, and this is like I'm just like reflecting on this time last year. If you would have asked me this, it would have been like a completely different answer. So I'm thankful that this is the hardest thing for me right now. Um, but really is like showing up for my own business. Like I think sometimes when we work with clients, we get so like obsessed with their own businesses that we like forget to do things for our own businesses. Like I have put off making my website for like the longest time, even though I know it's important. So definitely that. And then probably the only other thing I can think of that's been like a challenge is like finding people who are in a similar position as me, because like a lot of my friends are not in a position like this. So, like I said, like going to that co-working space and finding a community of people who are like in the same struggles and wins as you, has been like just a huge game changer. And it's like every time I have like a struggle, I know there's like people I can go to who will be like, okay, like let's take a step back and like here's how we can handle it, here's how we can work through it. Um, so really like finding people who are in like a similar position to me, I feel like has been like a struggle right now. But those are definitely different struggles than I would have said, so I'm thankful for them.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. It can feel really lonely and overwhelming when you feel like you don't have people around you who understand. I have a lot of friends like that as well, and I've had to go out of my way to find people in different places. And I feel like a lot of the friends I'm meeting now, especially online, I've started to make a lot of cool connections, and they're in similar and maybe not industries, for lack of a better word, but like they're also, you know, entrepreneurs and have their own business and navigating life in a similar way, and that's been so supportive and also just opening up more to family. It's cool. You said that a lot of your family is entrepreneurs as well.
Mhm.
So it's, yeah, it's so important to have people that you feel like you can talk to about your business who will understand it because again, it's so personal to us and we care about it. And it's such a specific thing. Like you can't talk to someone in the corporate world. They just like won't get it.
Yeah. 100%. And also, I feel like it's so important to like have people to look up to who are in like the business world. Like one person who comes to mind for me is my Pilates instructor. Like she is just so like on fire for what she does, and she's been doing it for like a long time. And she's just someone I'm like, I can't wait to get to that point of like like for lack of a better term, success. Like to me, that is what success looks like, just being like so in love with what you do and excited for what you do every single day and like the people you get to work with and your clients. And I just think that is like my like ugh, I've made it moment.
I love that. I guess on that note, like if you could make one wish right now that something you really want or a dream that you would love to see come to fruition, if when you're thinking back on this time next year, what would that be?
Ooh, I think it really just kind of expanding the ways I work with clients. So like right now I have a lot of clients who are like in like signed on with me for like email marketing and social media marketing. I've had a few like website people, but I would just love to begin like pulling in a lot of the really talented, amazing people I know in other industries. Like I know an incredible web designer and of course like my partner who does video production and like branding people. Like I would just love to work with clients in like a bigger way. Of course, I'm so thankful for the clients, like how I work with them now, but I would just love to like pull in more people because I know we could like do something really amazing for the people I work with.
Mm, yeah, I love that. And that touches on a theme that I've seen all over, which is collaborating with more people and people coming together to like bring all their gifts and all their magic and like make something bigger than themselves. And that's something that I'm really passionate about right now. So I love that you're tapping into that energy too. And I see that for you. It's coming.
Oh, I hope so. I'll have to check in with you this time next year.
Yes, please, please do. Absolutely. Okay, and this is also then going back to, I guess, like the boundaries topic and just like building that relationship with ourselves. Do you have any rituals or just moments built into your life that you lean on to connect with yourself deeper?
Yeah, definitely like my yoga and Pilates practice and just like giving myself even 10 minutes of like showing up for myself. Like even like this morning, there was no yoga classes to take, so I like went on a little like 10-minute like walk around my neighborhood. And like for me, not only do I feel so much more energized like creatively, but also it's just like, okay, this is a moment for me. Like I don't have to think about the emails I have to answer. I don't have to think about like the email newsletter I have to write. So I think that is like a practice where I feel like like nothing happens for me in a day unless I've like done something like that, I feel like. And not even like intentionally. It's just sometimes, you wake up late and you don't get that like moment of time for yourself. And then it just feels like your whole day is off. And that's how I feel like creatively. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
No, it totally makes sense. I completely agree. And a lot of my creativity comes to me when I'm doing those things just for myself. Like I have to prioritize my yoga and my walks and all the other things I do because for so many reasons. But I notice that when I'm in that space, my creative energy just comes online so much louder.
100%. Yeah. And that's been like, I feel like something I'm working on too is like showing up online, which is like ironic because I work in marketing. But I do feel like showing up for myself in other ways helps me show up in, like the online space and for my clients with this like confidence I might not have had.
Absolutely. Okay. What is something that you wish people talked about more in the world in general, or that you wish you felt more comfortable talking about?
Oh gosh, that is like tough. I actually would say money, like what you were saying. I kind of grew up in a family where it was like a very touchy subject. We for sure like it had issues with it, and I knew like if my parents were arguing, it was about that. So I feel like for a really long time, I like really tried to stay away from the topic of money. Like it kind of like brought up emotions for me. And now, like having to write proposals and having to like, like bid on things, I can't like not think about that. Like I have to. And in some ways, that's been like helpful for me because I feel like I've gotten more comfortable with it. But it also just feels like every time I have to write a proposal, I get like a little like nervous ball in my stomach. And I do wish like we talked about that more, especially in like, the space that we're in, because I do feel like a lot of times there's like a lot of questioning, like, well, who told you you could charge that much? Or like, what qualifications do you have that you can charge that much? Um, so that's just been something I'm like working on for sure, but I do wish we like talked about it a little bit more.
I completely agree. And it does feel so challenging to sometimes feel like we have to explain ourselves or prove ourselves in that way. And again, I think that showing up with the energy of confidence and just staying rooted in that and not letting anyone deter you from what you know to be true for yourself. Because, like you said, you're coming from a place of integrity and kindness and compassion. And so you're not trying to like rip anyone off.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, I think. often how the things we sometimes most desire to push away are the things that we have to just like sit with and really get comfortable with. And the more we can just normalize it and get comfortable with it, the less scary and overwhelming it becomes. And so I do find that the more we talk about topics like money and allow them to be present in our lives, the less power they hold over us and just the more casual it is, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And I think like going back to like being thankful for having the experiences we had before being an entrepreneur. Like, I was never the one writing proposals when I worked in that world. So I guess I'm thankful that I like didn't have to confront that fear for a while. But then like when I did, I did. So I am like, yeah, definitely for sure working through that. But I do think it just can be so difficult. And I feel like I see this a lot with like the wedding industry, like a lot of like being like, okay, I know I can charge this much and I know people will pay for it and I know what I'm doing. And I do feel like also in the marketing industry we like deal with that a lot. But it's honestly because like people have had such horrible experiences with, like agencies or other freelancers in the past that I completely understand why people feel like this like shield around themselves when like the money talk starts to happen and when people feel like they're being like taken advantage of or ripped off. So I completely understand why people would have that questioning around like why I would charge what I charge.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are people in your industry who do take advantage and who don't act in integrity.
Mhm.
And that does make it more challenging for people who are working in
Yeah,
integrity. But I think
100%.
I really do believe that our energy speaks for itself, and we just have to continue to show up confident. And the more that we trust ourselves, the more we know that we'll find the right people to work with and we'll attract the right people who are meant to work with us. And a lot of that comes back to trusting our intuition and trusting our inner guidance to lead us down that path. And so I'm curious your relationship with your intuition, if you feel like you have a connection to it, if that's something that's present in your life, and just any other thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would like to think I like am very connected to it. I think like that moment of, a breakdown in front of my mother-in-law, that is like something I think of also in terms of like intuition because seeing like what happened with that agency after that moment, I knew it. I knew I was right to leave when I did. And I felt like, okay, I'm so glad I listened to my gut. And even like sometimes I'll tell people who might want to work with me, like, hey, like it's not really a great fit. And that felt like, really difficult in the beginning because like who am I to like turn down someone who wants to work with me? Like that's how it felt. But getting like more confident in myself and kind of like tapping into that intuition, I've become so much more comfortable with saying, hey, like you want something that is more than I can offer right now, and that's okay. Like we're just not a good fit at the moment. Here's someone I would recommend instead. And I think like that has really been a practice for me and like trusting my gut.
Yeah, and that is another way of building trust with ourselves, you know? And so how does that show up for you? Is it like a feeling in your body? Like how do you know that it's your intuition speaking to you?
Yeah, I think I always feel it like in my stomach. I feel like
Mm.
I like when I was choosing like what school to go to, like what college, my senior and junior year of high school, I remember that feeling showing up like every single day to the point where I was like convinced there was something wrong with me. And I started working with like a nutritionist and like I was like going to the doctor being like, something's wrong with my stomach. And as annoying as it is when people are like, it's just stress. No, it was just like this stress and intuition of making sure I made the right decision. And sometimes like I'll get off a call with someone now and I'll feel that same feeling and I'm like, okay, like I'm not even gonna send the proposal because I just know like it's time to not do this because I don't want to every month working with someone feel the same feeling. Um, so I think it really shows up for me in that way.
That's so powerful. And I love that it's such a physical response for you. I mean, that s- shows up in your human design, but the fact that you're so tapped into those physical sensations also shows that connection to your body and like all the different parts of yourself and how you're really learning to trust it when you're making these big decisions. I think that that's so powerful. Have you felt like that's always been present in your life, or has that been a gradual evolution?
I think that's been a gradual evolution, but I can remember like being younger, I feel like I was raised in a very religious household. So I kind of associate this feeling with like a higher power, like telling me something. But I do remember like feeling that same feeling when I was younger. But I would say like that junior and senior year of high school, like that really felt like the start of like tapping into that and like feeling that feeling. And I would say like that's mainly the only way it shows up for me now. But yeah, on one hand, I'm like, okay, this hurts. Like I don't want to go through this, but like I am thankful that um it shows up for me in that way because, I'm sure there are people who don't feel connected in that way. So I am thankful for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't feel connected in that way. And there are a lot of people who do, but they don't pay attention to it or they numb it, ignore it, repress it
Hmm.
in some way and then it only gets worse and worse. So I think it's amazing that you have learned to really lean into it and trust it. And yeah, I think sometimes our intuition can feel inconvenient or annoying or painful or fill in the blank there, but it's really such a gift. It's such a
Yeah.
gift to celebrate the ways that it speaks to you and really honor that and listen to that. So I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. Um, yeah, it is a gift, honestly, but I was just thinking about what you said about how like it can be really annoying for sure. Like sometimes it's like your mind wants to do one thing and then your intuition is telling you something else and it's like, okay, like I got it. Like I'm gonna do it my way and then it just never works out.
Yes, I trust me, there are many times I'm like, really? Like, is it really? And also many times when it's hard to trust it because logically what it's telling me doesn't make sense. And so again, so much of it comes back to trust and being like, okay, this makes no sense. This is really annoying and inconvenient, but I am going to trust it.
Yeah, and I do feel like that comes back to like for me like the money thing because it's like okay, it doesn't make sense that my gut is telling me to turn down this money because I feel like these weird feelings towards money. Um so like listening to that and being able to like turn down money, I feel like has been just like a complete shift in my confidence in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that would really strengthen your trust with yourself and also shift this relationship with money to turn it down when you know you're meant to.
Yeah, and not that like I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just like rolling in it, like I can turn it down. Not in that way. I just know like every time I have turned something like that down, it has come back, it is like multiplied. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe there was someone that it didn't feel like the right fit, but then the next week I got two inquiries for like dream clients and dream fits. So I think just like remembering that can be tough, but I do know like, okay, something better will happen for sure.
Yeah, we build the trust as we go by the practice. Yeah. Okay, living intuitively wild means connecting to your true self and living dedicated to who you are at your core, no matter what. How do you feel like you live intuitively wild?
Oh my gosh. Oh, wait, can you say it one more time?
Yes.
Okay.
Living intuitively wild means connecting to your true self and living dedicated to who you are at your core, no matter what. How do you feel like you live intuitively wild?
Okay. Okay.
It's a
I
long one.
think career-wise, I think for me that shows up in sticking with being an entrepreneur because there are days where like I'm on scrolling on LinkedIn looking for like a job because like the day was tough or like something happened or I just don't feel like as fulfilled as I want to be. But I think like living that out means like to me sticking with what you said you were going to do and like seeing something through. And I know for me, I won't be happy in another role. It's just like a little band-aid. So, I think career-wise, that shows up in that way for me. Outside of that, I think like what I was saying, like like practicing connecting with my intuition and practicing boundaries and showing up for myself in like the practices that I hold special, that like Pilates and yoga and just like spending time in my own head, I feel like that shows up in that way for me.
Yeah, yeah, so special. Prioritizing your relationship with yourself.
Mhm.
I feel like that was a theme in the conversation.
I know, I'm like, wait, everything's connected, like every answer, I feel like.
I love when that happens. It's my favorite. Okay, please share with everyone where they can find you, connect with you, and everything you've got going on.
Yeah, you can connect with me on Instagram at maidenmarketing.co. And then my website is the same, maidenmarketing.co. Um, and hopefully by the time this is live, I will have my website done. So hopefully you'll see something there. And then LinkedIn, my full name is Allison GiamBruno, and you can find me on there.
And everything will be linked in the show notes. I do have a quick question of
Yeah,
how you decided on your brand name. I'm always curious. I feel like
yeah.
you recently made a shift in branding, so I'd love to hear anything on that you want to share.
Yeah, I was actually going back to what we were saying. This felt like a big confidence shift for me. I was operating as a freelancer under my own name up until like a month ago. And then when I decided, okay, it's time to invest in branding and this is something I want to do, I knew it was time to kind of like shift away from using my own name into something that felt like a little more like holistic almost. So I was actually on a walk with my boyfriend and I was like trying to brainstorm names, which is always difficult. And I was trying to explain to him, okay, I don't want anything that feels very like connected to the digital realm because to me, like marketing doesn't just live online, like it's all encompassing and there's so many avenues of marketing that aren't digital. So I didn't want anything with the name like social or digital or anything like that. And we kind of landed on the concept of like the little Made in America tags, not in like a patriotic way, but like a way that like, okay, when you see that, it's something that like holds up over time and it's something that, was hopefully made with integrity and care. And so that was something I wanted to bring into my business. And then also I was trying to think of like all the wordplay that I could use. So like made by, made with, and hopefully like being able to bring in more really talented people, I can like continue to use like the made with, like copywriter here. Yeah, so that's kind of how I landed on that.
I love that. I love those little like origin stories, and that's so creative, and I think that you could have a lot of fun with that. That's so special. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay, Allison, this has been so fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Intuitively Wild, the podcast. I hope it helped deepen your connection to yourself, sparked some insights, and inspired you to live intuitively wild. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with others and leave a rating and review. And please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. I will see you next time for more magic.